What's up, everybody? So today I'm going to be covering a meeting that I went to for the Brexit Party, which was in Watford. Now, what I've got to say is going to be quite long, so due to time limitations, what I'm going to do, I'm going to split it into two. And in this video we're going to talk about the Brexit Party in general, the meeting itself, and in the second part, which I hope you'll watch, we're going to talk about some of the policies they discussed and what I feel about it. So, today, essentially, we're going to talk about the Brexit Party. Now, full disclosure, I'm a supporter, and this is for the following reason. I, perhaps like yourself, am feeling sick and tired of what has gone on since the Brexit vote. 3 years ago, we've seen a systematic destruction of the very democracy that we hold dear. The very core principle here, no matter what the arguments for and against, is that the majority of the country voted to leave, whether for the good or for the bad. To me and many others, we want the vote to be honoured, and it's clear that there are powers trying to thwart it. The Brexit Party seemed to me to be the only way that I could get my voice heard. Though I've not been following them closely, I still feel this way, and when I saw they were having a rally, I saw that on the Conservative Woman webpage, they were having a rally near me, so I bought a couple of tickets and then I told my wife about it. She seemed happy with it, and she came with me, as we were both keen to find out on what it was really all about. You know, you hear things in the press all the time, positive and negative, and I really wanted to see what this was all about for my own self. So, what we're going to do is start with the basics, and then we'll talk about my experience on the night. The rally, it was broadcast on the Nigel Farage channel, and I will leave a link to that in the description below. Now, the Brexit Party is the newest political party in the UK and has already had a massive impact. It was initially founded in January 2019, and then they launched it in a Coventry car factory in April. And it's set up very much like a company, a business, rather than a traditional political party. Now, this was clearly for several reasons. Well, to make sure that its finances were publicly available, and so they can avoid all those hit jobs in the media claiming financial irregularities. Also, the structure means that Nigel Farage, as the owner, will remain in control and will have a board controlling the business that they run. This avoids issues like coups and voting on just about everything but never actually getting anything done. But they also don't have any members, but they rather have supporters. And again, this is going to be to avoid any hit jobs with people saying things like, look who is a member, they are alt-right, they are far-right, etc. So by having supporters rather than members, you're not going to be tarring them with that kind of brush. So just 6 weeks after they launched, they won the EU elections, outright, and even became the largest party in the EU Parliament. In doing so, they got more votes in that election than both the Tories and Labour combined. So a really remarkable start, and it clearly shows that more than one other person is thinking just like me. Now, to the night. The article on the Conservative Woman gave me a good idea on what to expect, and again, I'll put a link to that in the description below. The hall filled up quickly, and me and my wife, we looked around to see what type of person was attending. After some discussion, we agreed that these were people that had neither benefited from the Tory historical legacy of the rich making more money, the increase in house and share prices, but they also were not the people who benefit from the social contract of Labour. They don't claim the myriad of benefits on offer, but rather these are people who are the workers, and they're passionate about their country. Now, is this a generalisation? Well, yes, but this is how it appeared to us anyway. Now, the event itself had 4 speakers. We had Richard Tice, who's the MEP and the Brexit Party chairman. There was William Berry, who is currently going to be running as a candidate in Watford for the general election. We had Michael Heaver, who's an MEP for the East of England. And then finally, the man himself, Nigel Farage. Now, to be completely honest with you, I was really wanting to see the Anne Widdecombe, pardon me. But alas, it was not to be. It comes to something when Nigel Farage plays second fiddle to anybody. But as an aside, have you ever seen the Anne Widdecombe song by Victoria Wood? After this video, go and check it out. It's very funny. Now, back to Nigel Farage. On the night, he received a great welcome, as you may have seen on other videos of Brexit Party rallies. Watching him speak was a great experience. Now, love him or hate him, he is clearly a very talented orator and speaks very much at a level that is inclusive to the common person. He has a gravitas which holds you, a passion for his beliefs, and a wit to match. I thoroughly enjoyed the experience. Now, he was a man who to me seemed has much life experience and knows the people involved in this whole Brexit debacle, and he also has the anecdotes to prove it. Now, during his time, when he was speaking, the crowd reacted to what he was saying. There was some shouting and some interaction with the audience. Now, the shouting came from a place, though, I wouldn't normally react in that way, and I certainly don't react in that way. I completely understand where it came from. It didn't come from a place of hate, it came from a place of anger. It's anger at the systematic vandalisation of our democracy. So, let's go through some of what he said. He's clearly passionate, and that passion was clear when he talked about the promises that were made to us. In the leaflet that was posted to everyone's door pre-referendum vote, and from the very mouths of the politicians, we were promised that this was a once-in-a-generation vote, that they would listen to our voices, and that the vote would be delivered. And still we wait. Now, when talking about Europe, he said this. He said, "We love Europe. We love the countries of Europe. We love the people of Europe. We love the wine and the cheese. But we want a Europe of independent states, friends with each other." Now, I realise that people may see the Brexit Party as an anti-Europe party, but this sentiment is exactly what I feel. Europe is a fantastic place, and personally, I go to Germany every year. But Europe and the EU are not the same. The EU is not Europe, and Europe is not the EU, and vice versa. Those close ties to these countries are an integral part of who we are. The EU itself is an undemocratic superstate, and our independence from it is something we should all embrace. The distinction between the EU and the European countries is a very important one to make. And Guy Verhofstadt has even said the nation state is a relic. We need to be run from the EU. The very idea of that makes me angry, and absolutely it should you as well. Okay, then Nigel said something which was quite shocking and rather disappointing. No, very disappointing. But coming from him, what he knows, it was necessary to say if he believes it to be so. He said that it is virtually certain that we will not be leaving the EU on the 31st of October. This took time to sink into me, to be honest. Another delay at this point seems a betrayal. But the Parliament is continually battling against the results of the referendum. Disappointing? Yes. But I would rather consider this now than keeping my hopes high until the very last minute. Could we still be leaving the EU on the day? We could. but we will have to see. Next, he talked about the European Army. Excuse me. It is a concern that many of us hold, that the EU is actually considering this, that it would not just be for defence purposes, but rather for expansionism, for interventionism, and showing the power of the EU worldwide. A truly disturbing vision of the future. And yet, there are still people who are trying to tell us that is not going to happen. Well, these people are wrong, and it comes from the EU itself. EU foreign policy boss of the EU, Joseph Borrell, has stated that we need an EU army of 50 to 60,000 and that we need to use that force around the world. Just what we need. Another army in this world. That was sarcasm in case you couldn't tell. Now, I want to wrap up here and get on to my second video, but I wanted to talk about a couple of things that came up at the end of the meeting and during the Q&A session. The phrase that was used was country before party, and it does seem that this is what the Brexit Party are trying to achieve. They will not be producing a manifesto for the general election, and the reason for this is the actual association of the word manifesto itself. The manifestos that the parties produce are there to tell people what they want to hear, but the parties have no intention of keeping those promises. The Brexit Party state that they intend to keep their promises and so will have a contract with the people. Now, the Brexit Party seemed to be a breath of fresh air in the political world. The meeting itself, as was mentioned by the speakers, was a rallying call. They need people on the streets distributing leaflets and knocking on doors. They need the word out there and are using, I'm personally using what I have, this channel. I'm doing this via YouTube and I hope that it helps in some way. Attending the rally has certainly got me motivated to help in any way that I can. Perhaps I can make a difference, however small, to this and many others, as me and many others see this as a battle for our democracy. Hopefully I'll see you in my next video, which is going to be talking about the policies that were discussed on the night. Thanks for watching. Thank you for watching this video. Like, share, subscribe if you appreciate what we do.